Good day. It's Althea from the Bible in 1 Year. Today we spend time in Psalm 5, receiving strength to get through the day. This psalm was written by David in the wilderness at a time of difficulty when he was running from Absalom, his third son who wishes to seize David and his throne. David's daughter Tamar was raped by her brother Amnon. When David failed to punish Amnon, Absalom, David's third son, turned to his father in revenge for his sister, as we read in 2 Samuel 15 to 18. David would run towards God in prayer for help and in his place of difficulty. David did not just pray to God to soothe his conscience or to tick the prayer box for the day. He starts with listening to my words. Consider, heed the sound of my cry for help. This cry for help is directed at the one David knows is able and willing to help, our Father God. David understood that the best time to connect with God was early in the morning. He made a point to honor God at the beginning of the day in prayer, knowing that an hour in the morning is worth 2 hours in the evening. He was determined to make the most of it. In verse 3 we read, "In the morning I will prepare a prayer and a sacrifice for you," meaning I will lay it all out on the altar in the morning, just like the priests prepare the morning sacrifice. He was not just mouthing words. David's prayers were focused with a definite and conscious approach to God. David's prayers was a dialogue with God. He was not dumping all his stresses and concerns on God. He was willing to watch and wait for God to speak to his heart. This has the expectancy and believing trust that God will answer. This confidence is built on past experiences. Each morning spent in prayer in the presence of God brings a closeness with God and intimacy, becoming more aware of man's sinfulness and more aware of God's holiness. In verses 4 to 7 and 9 to 10, David had the conversation with God about what he had learned over time in the presence of God. No wickedness, boastfulness, arrogance, liars, and deceitful men can stand in God's presence, and it's best to stay clear of this kind of life. God's holiness is an incentive to become more holy, to lay down all forms of sinfulness. Knowing with confidence that the abundance of God's steadfast love and tender mercy sets him free, enabling him to stand in the presence of God in his prayer time with the Lord. This intimate relationship with God leads him to bow down in obedience, in reverence for God, in verse 7. Worship God from a place of reverence for a righteous, merciful, loving God. In verse 8, David praying, "Make your way straight, direct, right before me," knowing that by God's power and guidance he can stay clear of the way of the wicked. Therefore, David prays in verse 11, "Let all who take refuge and put their trust in you rejoice." Not knowing how to respond and solve the difficult circumstances he finds himself in, he puts his trust in the Lord for a favorable outcome in this difficulty. Often David will start his prayer feeling downhearted, and he would pray until his spirit is lifted. David carries on, "Let them ever sing for joy, because you cover and shelter them. Let those who love your name be joyful and exult in you. For you, O Lord, bless the righteous man, the one who is in right standing with you. You surround him with favor as with a shield." When life serves you with a curveball, when you find yourself between a rock and a hard place, even if the place of difficulty is a result of your own actions, remember to run to God in prayer. The forgiveness, the freedom, the restoration, the upliftment of your spirit lies within the relationship with God. Each morning spend in prayer time, making the most of your relationship with God. May you be blessed. Goodbye.